Okay, it's me and Taylor here on the Beats Me podcast. The title's still pending, but we'll call it that for now. I'm Joel,
And I'm Taylor.
and we're gonna talk about sports for a little bit and just sound off on our opinions. I think the big topic right now it's Wednesday, January 26th, but I think we should talk about the divisional round in the NFL playoffs this weekend. Obviously, being considered like the best weekend in NFL football in memory. Can you think of a better one?
No, I cannot.
Well, for me, it was when the Jets beat the Patriots, like 12 years ago now. Mark Sanchez.
Oh, and you guys ran for the AFC Championship.
I mean, that was the best one for me, obviously. It wasn't it wasn't like four great games.
Well, prior to our Super Bowl run for the Eagles, I think the best run was with Mike Vick, with Shady McCoy, and Deshaun Jackson. So
yeah, I was watching some of his highlights to.
He was one of the fastest quarterbacks.
To Deshaun Jackson, like his passes, they're just like obscene.
Yeah, he had that shotgun pass very.
Like he would throw like bombs to him, and like Deshaun Jackson just got the speed. That one pass where they were at like the 9-yard line.
From his rookie year to his third year in the NFL, he was one of the fastest wideouts. So,
but yeah,
continuing on our discussion, talking about these past games this weekend, very, very good.
I concur.
I really enjoyed both games.
Both. There was 4.
Well, I only got a chance to watch the Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs and also the Packers.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's all right. But, yeah, the Chiefs game is one of the best games I can remember. Like, that was ridiculous.
Very high scoring, very,
Yeah, I mean, by the end, there was, no defense being played.
But, I mean, it was such a good game, back and forth. Both teams played pretty good outside of, the defensive.
I'd say both teams played hard. What would you say?
No, seriously. I thought it was,
oh, shit.
It really filled, what football needed. It was one of the best games I've seen in a while.
That's true, but the Bills could get one stop at the end. 13 seconds.
Well, unfortunately, with 13 seconds left, the Chiefs got the ball, brought it to the 40, and hit a field goal.
They got even closer than that. It was a 48-yard field goal, so they're at the 30-yard line. They got from the 25 to the 30 within 13 seconds. Yeah. It was just ridiculous. It was the worst 13 seconds of defense I think I've ever seen.
I got to see at least up until then. So I saw the touchdown pass to Stephon Diggs prior to that field goal. It was hard to follow.
The pass was to it wasn't to Diggs. Diggs only had a 2-point conversion catch in that game. But,
but that's what I'm saying. Before that touchdown that led to the 2-point conversion was Diggs. Diggs had the 2-point conversion.
Right. But, I feel bad for Josh Allen, honestly.
He played his heart out, and he really impressed me this year. I mean, not just for fantasy players, but just overall. He's very talented.
Yeah. I mean, he basically did all that he could in that game. Obviously, kind of came down to the coin flip, which I think we were going to discuss that topic of the overtime rules.
Yeah, I personally, obviously, my other co-host here has his opinion, but I'm not a big fan of the NFL overtimes. I think the Bills might have won that game if they had a chance.
If they won, they did have a chance. They didn't stop.
Well, I know defensive liability and but they took their defense off the field and put them back, and I just felt the game lost its momentum at that point. In between that touchdown from the Chiefs, or not the touchdown. The field goal, and then going into overtime.
I understand what you're saying, and I think a lot of it is just we all kind of just felt bad because most people, I think, were rooting for the Bills. I don't know, just because I think more people root for kind of the underdog. But realistically, all the Bills needed to do was stop them with 13 seconds from getting a field goal.
I know, but I also just think
so. It's like they're the ones who put themselves in that situation.
I just feel like the ruling on the field of just like the first person to get a touchdown or 2-point conversion, the game's over. Is just like I don't know. I think they should change it. That's just me. I know
they did change it.
No, I know prior
yeah,
they've
changed it before. There used to be no overtime in the NFL.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that either. I just think they should change it once more. I just don't agree with like the whole purpose of that ruling is to have the game end quicker.
But think about it. There's the college overtime rules, which are it's like kind of a it's those. A clown show.
No, but I personally like those.
But imagine if they had to play like 6 overtimes and then they go into the next. Like guys can get
college football. I'm not.
Me too. I don't watch any college football. I'm not gonna lie. We're from New Jersey. No one watches college football here.
Yeah, well, I mean, not just based on that. I watch like maybe some Georgia games. I watch like
except for the people who are like degenerates who like bet on
but
games they know nothing about.
Like outside of Georgia, Notre Dame, like the big schools, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean I watch
Army, Navy. I'll watch. I'll watch some games, but like, yeah, I know those rules, and I rather have the NFL do that.
I mean, it's entertaining, but it's not like real football. It's like the guy on second base in baseball. It's like you're starting overtime playing completely different rules. Like starting, what do they start from the 25-yard line?
Yeah,
it's kind of like yes, it's kind of entertaining, but it's also not like real football.
I'm not a fan of this score first touchdown.
But how else would you do it? How else could you do it?
I would say that you just shorten the clock and shorten the amount of timeouts you have, and just whoever finishes above that. Just like I know this is gonna rub you the wrong way, but like how the NBA has overtime,
just have a time limit.
Yeah,
and just play like a regular.
Because sometimes the NBA will have like a shortened 5 minutes is overtime for the NBA, and like maybe they'll go to triple overtime.
Right.
But like at least like it's more fair in the sense that it gives an opportunity for both teams, because I feel like that Bills game could even been higher scoring. Like both teams have a really good offense.
Well, but you could in theory like it sounds good, but say they do like a 5-minute overtime. I think is too short for football.
Well, no,
because you could do like a I'm
not saying 5 minutes, but like shorten the clock a little bit.
So do like a 10-minute overtime.
Yeah.
Well, whoever just has more points at the end.
Yeah.
But it's still, if you win the coin toss, let's just say theoretically the Chiefs won the coin toss like they did. They get the ball, score a touchdown. Let's say Bills, they probably go and score a touchdown. How much time is left? Like 2 minutes? So the Chiefs could easily just score there, and it's going to be the same outcome.
That game proved to you the minimal amount of time you still could have the Chiefs win it, but at least it seems more, in my eyes, football would be more competitive that way, because then you're earning that touchdown at the end, even in overtime.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you're just basically saying if you can't stop the other team, you still deserve another chance. That's not the point of football. You have to be able to stop the other team.
No, I get defensive.
You can't just keep going because you think it's not fair.
Listen, I understand defensive coverage, and I'm not talking about it has to be fair for each team in that sense. Because the Bills, you're right, they had the opportunity to get the stop and maybe prevent another touchdown being thrown in the end of overtime. But I also think there was not enough time on the clock to give the Bills another opportunity. What if say they scored with 6 minutes left, and it's just all right, they got the 2-point conversion, game over. Any team should have at least that 6 minutes to at least make another run. Even if the coin toss went in the favor of the Chiefs, the Bills could have still.
I just think there's no fair way of doing it. The only way, you should just beat the team. If you don't beat them then it's nothing's fair. You lost your opportunity for fairness because you didn't beat them in the main time of the game.
Yeah, I get that, but
it's nothing will ever be fair because there's still going to be a coin toss.
But a bigger part of this conversation has to do with regular season, not playoffs. So it's I know this discussion is about the playoffs and the games, But like if we're talking about just overtime in NFL case, I think the main purpose of them changing the rules throughout history for how overtime works now is more of the factor that they want those games to end because then say another game happens right after and they have a certain amount of TV time, so they know.
Well, yeah, that's part of
it. I'm not gonna say partitioned, but like they made the rule based on advertisers and all that with TV deals.
Yeah, but
it comes into play.
Its thing is just comes down to entertainment. I think people were like, oh, if you just go and get a field goal, that's not really like because it's so easy to get field goals now because kickers are so good now.
Yeah, well, so it's like the field goal's not a big deal. Games end like that in regular time of a game. Like that's field goal, it's over.
As much as I didn't like it, I just don't think. To me, the college rules is a joke, as like kind of entertaining as it is. I would hate it if it was the Jets, which it probably never will be. Who knows when the Jets are going to be good ever again? But like, I would hate if it came down to that with the Jets and like
I think it's worth
like that you score, they get the ball, you get the ball, they get the ball.
I think it's worth a discussion to have in the main.
Well, we're having it right now.
No, I'm not just talking about for our podcast here. Or
I know, but people are talking about it. I just don't see like a good
amazing games. Seriously,
yeah, they were amazing games.
I was opposed to all these crappy blowouts like the Eagles.
Oh yeah, well it's funny because
like the first set.
The last week might have been the worst weekend of playoff football.
For like NFL, the purpose of watching the game, I wanted competitive matchups, and at least this week was worth it. Like it was such.
Yeah, those extra wild cards. It's not looking great. Like it didn't work out.
So, but anybody listening, I did take the Bills.
But yeah, we did a dry run through of the podcast last week. Maybe we'll release it at some point. But I picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl. Taylor picked the Bills. It didn't turn out great.
I was hoping they'd break their curse.
I actually kind of wanted...
I did get excited with that 13 seconds. My stream died at an event. I was so...
Taylor thought it was more important to see wrestling than...
I did.
The best weekend in pro football. Which I respect that decision.
I watched both. I was very invested.
Who was there at the wrestling event, by the way? Like,
John Moxley.
Who's the big names? A.K.A.
Matt Cardona.
Moxley was
Dean Ambrose.
Previously Dean Ambrose, maybe more.
And Matt Cardona's previously Zack Ryder. Other big names, obviously Nick Gage in the hardcore wrestling scene. And the Briscoe brothers. X-Pac.
The Nick Gage Dark Side of the Ring was disturbing.
Yes.
But they all are.
Shout out to Vice.
I would highly recommend those if anyone listening hasn't seen them. Dark Side of the Ring. But
so anybody listening, I am.
Isn't the Royal Rumble coming up?
It is. It's coming up this coming Sunday.
Who do you think? Who do you think's gonna win?
I'm gonna go with AJ Styles or Drew McIntyre for 2 feet.
Well, let's go with the prediction. Who do you think?
I'm gonna go with AJ.
AJ. Is Lesnar in the Rumble? I know he's fighting.
I think he's wrestling a match against Bobby Lashley.
Lashley. Well, what do you think, Lashley or?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm not sure.
I want Lashley to win, but I gotta say Lesnar's probably gonna win. They're gonna.
I don't know if Lashley's gonna get the push from Lesnar. He might though. We'll see. We'll see what decision.
Well, that's a whole new can of worms, but no, I don't. I think Lesnar is gonna win, but. The Rumble.
It's a toss-up.
Honestly, I couldn't name like every guy who's in it, so I'm just gonna. Is Kofi Kingston a ridiculous pick?
No, he's in it. He could win it.
Has he won it before?
No, but he's gotten close.
He always does those like ridiculous, like stays in by like doing a handstand or like lands on a paper plate or something.
Kingston fan. I was glad he won a championship.
Yeah, I mean I don't think he has the push right now, but
yeah, but he might. Good pick.
What's his name?
Randy Orton.
Orton's gonna be in it.
I think so.
Okay. What about the women's one?
The women's one, I know Lita's back.
She ain't gonna win it though.
I know Mickey James is gonna be in it from Impact Wrestling.
Well, they always bring back the old guys. I think Fabulous Moolah is gonna come back and win it.
I think she's passed away, but that's a good pick if she was in it. Maybe Sasha Banks or Bailey or Rhea.
Yeah,
Ripley.
I was honestly I was thinking Banks, but
or
Rhea
Charlotte
Ripley's.
Flair, since they like to shove it down everyone's throats.
How dare you? Charlotte Flair is the queen.
She's a great wrestler, but I think they overpush her. Oh, Asuka. Yeah, she should be back, so she might win it. So
Maybe.
definitely gonna watch.
I might. Was it Sunday?
Yeah.
I'll probably. If I don't catch it live, I'll figure out some way. To fully legally watch it.
FBI approved.
I know all about net neutrality. Okay. All right. What else do we want to talk about? You still want to talk about
Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah, we didn't get into that. The Hall of Fame thing.
I think
the snubs.
I do think there's a lot of snubs. I also think David Ortiz isn't ready to be just straight up put in. I mean,
it was crazy because he got in first ballot.
I will be honest, as any of you are listening, I'm not the biggest. I love baseball. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the biggest knowledgeable person on MLB, but I do think people like, we were discussing prior to the podcast, like the Barry Bonds, the Joe DiMaggio's, the Babe Ruth,
the Mickey Mantles.
Yeah, those people.
Mickey K-Line.
Yeah. You gotta I don't know, every Hall of Fame is different for each sport.
Yeah, the baseball one's weird though.
But qualifications and accolades aside, I don't know if David Ortiz should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's just.
It's just the fact that I think most people believe he did PEDs of some sort, steroids, HGH, whatever.
I don't care much about that though, because some of the legends did PEDs.
Yeah, a lot of. I mean,
and
they
stats
used to take.
Aside, I think it's just not. He's too recent in my eyes. Even though he retired a while ago, I still think it's too recent.
Well, you don't think he should be first ballot?
No,
because a lot of. I mean,
for argument's sake, and any of you who can disagree with me, including you, for this discussion, I think Pete Rose deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just because he bet against.
Yeah.
The games that he played, knew he was gonna win.
Well,
that's
Pete Rose is a tricky one because he knew they had that policy, and as much as
shout out to Moose Munch,
as much as he's obviously the hit king in baseball, but
so exactly you're just proving
it was in the rules. It was known if you bet on baseball, you will be banned from the sport, and he bet on baseball. And he is in the Hall of Fame technically. He doesn't have a plaque in the the room where they have the plaques. I was at the Hall of Fame, years and years ago now. I was, this is probably 20 something years ago maybe. But they put there's the room of the plaques.
I understand that, but we reiterating to the whole David Ortiz thing. I still think it's too recent, regardless of his stats and his accolades, that you can put him in immediately as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yes, if you just went by his experience, his time in the MLB, and his stats.
His stats put him in as a hitter, even though he was DH most of his career.
I mean, but he was a great hitter.
But they already let Edgar Martinez in as a DH, so. Either way, I think it's because there's the character clause, I'm doing air quotes, which is, the writers take that into effect, or take that into account, based on a guy's character, which is, kind of why Curt Schilling didn't get voted in, because he said all of those writers are idiots, and he tweets, ridiculous things, he's super, right-wing, but he also... he says crazy stuff on Twitter. You can look it up.
Unfortunately, a lot of these athletes, is why that statement or the old quote, unquote, it's you never want to meet your heroes.
Right. No, that's, yeah, that's definitely true. But, guys like A-Rod, he was suspended for a year but he never actually tested positive for PEDs. And then Ortiz, he never was suspended. I don't think he never tested
Well,
positive,
he was.
but he was on that list. But everyone
I'm
kind of
pretty
knew
sure.
he did it.
I'm again. My history is a little shaky, but I'm pretty sure that one summer that list came out, and then he was tested. And he tested positive.
Well, they tested guys, but I forget the exact thing what happened, but
It was like 2013 or 14. I remember that.
no, it was way earlier than that.
Really? Maybe 2010 or 11. Then.
But regardless, none of them actually tested positive. They were on that Mitchell report, which named the names.
For argument's sake, I remember the list, and when your nickname is Big Poppy, dude.
But I'm just okay. The main crux of the argument is they kind of let Ortiz in because people liked him. Where Barry Bonds is kind of a dick to the media always.
Yeah.
And no one liked him. His numbers are just insane. Steroids or none. He had that year where his on base was over 50%.
But that's what I'm saying. With the Hall of Fame discussion, past MLB players, that's why I use the names Joe DiMaggio and used to Mickey Mantle. Could even say Piazza.
Well, Piazza probably did, but just
those guys all did PEDs. Piazza admitted to that later in life. He's like, "Oh, I tried a cycle of."
Did he?
I'm pretty sure I read an article of Piazza saying that, so I'm bringing his name up. You can look it up.
Well, Piazza, I think people kind of assumed he did, but most of what he did was before they started testing.
Oh, so that's just null and void too.
Yeah, there are
use of performance enhancing.
We all know there are guys in the Hall of Fame who definitely did steroids, but that was before it was even illegal to do them. And then there was the whole thing where people were doing amphetamines before games, which is a performance enhancing drug, but it's not.
My whole issue is if you're gonna reprimand for one guy for one thing, they all should.
It's inconsistent.
It's very inconsistent.
And it's judged by the writers, so. In Barry Bonds' case, if he was a nicer guy to the media, maybe they let him in.
Well, PR is huge.
And same with A-Rod. People just generally don't like A-Rod. Now he kind of has a better image.
So in the media, David Ortiz could have been one of the greatest guys.
Everyone just loves David Ortiz. He's Big Poppy. They love David Ortiz.
Yeah, but I'm saying who do you think in your mind should go in the Hall of Fame above him? Think of
definitely A-Rod, definitely Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That was one of the names I was going to use.
I think Curt Schilling, because his playoff numbers are just insane. He's one of the best playoff pitchers of all time, and he has 3 championships.
But
those are the main ones that jump out.
For me, though, dude, is if we're gonna include their accolades, then David Ortiz again is.
He's not as. I mean.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's apples and oranges. He might be better than Schilling, but because one's a hitter and one's a pitcher. But A-Rod is one of the best hitters of all time. Barry Bonds might be the best hitter of all time.
But yeah.
And A-Rod was a Gold Glove shortstop.
For argument's sake, I just don't think David Ortiz should be at first ballot. But that's
he probably shouldn't be at first ballot. Because there are plenty of guys that
think differently. That's fine.
Our audio viewers. They see with their ears. Yeah, that's about my 2 cents on the Baseball Hall of Fame. And what else do you want to talk about? The NBA Rookie of the Year. You want to get into that?
I do. Well, our rookies so far this year that are killing it. We got Cade Cunningham. We got Evan Mobley. We got Scotty Barnes.
And let's not forget
Jalen Green.
Well, I think he's kind of fallen below his expectations a bit, but Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey's amazing.
Lest we forget.
Yeah, Josh
is having a great season. He's Australian, right?
Mm-hmm. Came from
I like him.
What's it called? The NBL?
Him, Patty Mills, and if Ben Simmons ever wanted to play basketball again, that'd be a
Joe
pretty
Ingles.
good national
Joe
team. And
Ingles,
Ingles,
Jack Londale from the Spurs.
oh Jock
Londale.
Jock's son yeah, Jock, whatever. Yeah, the guy in the Spurs. He's not a bad player.
There's a lot of
Australian basketball is pretty decent. Let's put it at that.
Hey, LaMelo Ball and LiAngelo will play for.
But so who's your pick for Rookie of the Year?
I'm gonna stick with what I said earlier before we started this. Cade Cunningham. I think
going with the Cunningham.
I think the Pistons.
You could be right.
I think the Pistons record should not be a precursor for.
I want to look up the numbers, but I think Mobley is leading the race right now.
Mobley, I can see because he's got Defensive Player of the Year potential. He's averaging 2 blocks, I think, and 17 and 10.
Let me look up the numbers. Yeah.
But for argument's sake, Cade Cunningham is doing everything for that Pistons team. They just don't have the talent. It's Cade, Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes, and Isaiah Stewart. Stewart, Bey, and Cade Cunningham, for argument's sake, again.
You know what? Cunningham is putting up better numbers than I thought.
Is he averaging 18?
No, he's only averaging 16.2, 5.4 boards, 5.3 assists, which is really good. But
and look at his
1.3 steals and 0.7 blocks is very good.
He had 4 blocks last game. He's doing stuff at. I think he's 6'6".
He's getting better, I think, as the season is going on too.
Well, he started off rough, and everyone's quick to say bust.
No, you're right. But he's on a bad team.
Well, he's doing everything for that business team, and I'm saying Mobley has the opportunity to showcase his abilities because you got Darius Garland, you had Colin Sexton, you had Jared Allen, you have Lauri Markkanen, you have Kevin Love.
I think the deciding factor between if it came down to those two, the Cavs have improved greatly since last year.
See, just for any listener or audio listeners, NBA, NFL, MLB, it doesn't matter. Some of these sports voting, I just don't agree with. A couple years ago, just to stay on discussion, the 6th Man of the Year award was given to, I believe it was Jamal Crawford when he was on the Clippers, and he won it the year prior. But he was putting up lower stat numbers than Lou Williams when he was on the Lakers. And I only remember this not just because I'm a Laker fan for bias' sake. I really think it was because the Clippers had a little bit of a better record than the Lakers, but stats-wise, if we're just giving awards for stats, Lou Williams deserved it. And I think Cade Cunningham overall, again, with this discussion, I think the Pistons record should not withhold him from getting the Rookie of the Year award because he's doing everything for that team. He, leads the charge. Mobley is in a position where he can, again, showcase his abilities. I'm not taking away his talent. He could be the next Kevin Garnett. He's got point.
But his responsibilities aren't as much as Cunningham's.
Yeah, Cunningham has to, be the playmaker.
I agree with that.
He has to lead, the team in just running the offense.
Can we throw Scotty Barnes in the mix, though?
Scotty Barnes.
I kind of like Scotty Barnes.
Look at his numbers right now. Scotty Barnes is putting up pretty solid defensive numbers also, and the Raptors are not out of it. They're in the play-in, I believe.
He's missed a couple of games recently.
But his numbers are still good. What are they?
I think his wrist has been acting up. But the numbers are good. 14.6, 7.8 boards, 3.4 assists, almost 1 steal and 0.9 blocks. That's always good.
And his percentages aren't awful.
Yeah, 47% field goal, 72% free throw. I mean, that's not great, but it's not terrible. He's a rookie.
He has a good shooting form, so I can see.
They're actually all really close. I could see it comes down to the wire. Who really stays healthy?
Again, that comes down to the record, and I really think that it shows that It's in my eyes that also needs to be reconstructed in the voting process for those awards.
I agree, but Giddey's putting up really good numbers too.
I love Giddey. Big fan of Giddey.
His percentages are kind of bad in his
He's almost
three
averaging like a triple
turnovers.
double, right?
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
18, 7, and 6 or something.
Well, it's only 11.5, 7.5, and 6.2.
Oh, really?
It's not scoring that much.
I thought he was for a reason. I don't know why I added like 7 points.
Still good numbers, really good for a rookie, even on a horrible team. But I like Giddey a lot. I think next year he'll probably be shooting a little bit better. You work on it in the off season.
Well, you have the list up right now, right?
No, I looked at it before, and the last guy is Franz Wagner.
I think he doesn't get enough talk.
He is.
He's actually having a solid season. I'm a big fan of Franz Wagner.
Because I play fantasy basketball.
Mo Wagner, and I think both of them are good talents, but Franz is such a better shooter.
Yeah, he's better.
He's way better.
He's
a good playmaker, too.
He's actually ranked the highest in fantasy, mostly because I don't think he's missed, he might have missed only one game this year.
Yeah.
But, solid.
He should be in the conversation.
Not crazy defensive numbers,
record
but
comes down to the Magic.
Yeah, the Magic.
Like Orlando, if they had a better record, he might be even more in that discussion. The same thing with Giddey with the Thunder, but I really think both those players should be considered. They're all, like you said, they're all having great seasons.
I like Wagner a lot.
I do too.
Yeah, the Magic are just. When's the last time they were good? Like Dwight Howard era?
Yeah, or the. They made the playoffs more recently than that, too, but I just can't think of...
They were like the 8th seed, though, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. The other thing I wanted to mention, when you mentioned the Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford, I think I like the idea of doing like a list breakdown of like top 10s, top 5s, stuff like that. I feel like it's fun to do and talk about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So maybe next episode we do like our top
top
7.
The reason I brought that into the discussion though was because that year was the first time I realized that it's not just about stats, because I know for a fact
right, he had better stats,
better percentages, better free throw.
I remember looking at these numbers with you before.
Yeah, and it upset me because it's like, okay,
it's like they give it to Crawford because he's like, oh, it's Jamal Crawford.
And honestly, I think someone else, I forgot the other 6th man that year who it was. It might have been a Nets player, but I think it's I hate to use the word travesty, but I think it's stupid that they go based on record and not by just alone stats, because if it's a single award for that player. It shouldn't be like the team. It's just...
Right. No, that's true. But what I was getting at is, I think like the rankings, like it's not even rankings, just like, we do like a list, like our top, let's say maybe top 7 or top 8 6th men. Maybe next episode we talk about that, like of all time, just for fun, just for discussion. I think the lists, because you can always just debate them, and it's like kind of personal preference. So maybe we'll talk about it. I think maybe we could do that like as a segment. I think the 6th man, it's always fun because who doesn't love a sixth man?
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 1, who is that movie with Marlon Wayans where he's like dead?
Yeah, that's a classic. Marlon Wayans.
Was that called The 6th Man?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, number 1, Marlon
his brother,
Wayans.
He passes away. The brother's the ghost helping him.
No, I got to do it myself this time.
Yeah, classic. All right, so our next topic of discussion.
I think the last thing we wanted to talk about while we're still in the NBA is the guys getting the second chances, right?
Yeah.
The second chance NBA guys.
I can talk so much about it. I think it's a great opportunity for G Leaguers. I also think it's a great opportunity for these veterans that still have a little left in the tank.
I love seeing the guys that were like, oh, I forgot about him. And it's like, they can still play. It's just they just don't get the chance. Like, why?
Well,
is it because the teams are cheap? They don't want to give them like the veteran contract?
Well, first of all, NBA teams have a salary cap that's been modified like the last 5 to 10 years so many times, especially G Leaguer contracts and 2 ways and 10-day
Break
contracts.
down bird rights in like 2 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I could.
I know you could,
but like, just for like the whole conversation's sake, like, yeah, I think it's great that these NBA players are getting like these second chances. Like, I was glad that my team gave Isaiah Thomas a chance. So glad to see Joe
yeah,
Johnson.
it's good to see him.
CJ Miles and Joe Johnson on the Celtics. You got to see.
Wait, CJ Miles was on the team?
Yeah, they signed him for like a 10-day deal, which was great.
On the Lakers?
No, the Celtics.
Oh, okay, I didn't see him.
And even like players that you wouldn't even expect are like I see a lot of these guys, like old veterans that maybe played overseas or just like retired or coming back. Like Gerald Green was an assistant coach for the Rockets.
Wow.
And he actually just went back to the G League about like a few weeks ago, which is great. So he's getting another opportunity to try to make it back in the NBA. And I think that's what these second chances are about.
I want to see Gerald Green in the slam dunk contest one more time.
Yeah, I mean, they allowed it.
We were there at that last New Jersey Nets game where he threw down that windmill.
I will never forget.
That was that game, right?
It was against the Rockets.
No, it was against the Celtics. It was the last one.
You're talking about the one where he did the windmill?
Maybe it was a different one where he did the windmill, but
yeah.
The game we were at, the last New Jersey Nets home New Jersey game was against the Celtics.
Yeah. But no, going back to that topic of discussion about the second chances, I think it's really good.
Because some of the guys are starting to stick now.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, we forgot about him.
Yeah, like Kyle Guy, for example, is a no-name. He was pretty good in college, a white kid that can just shoot.
Was he on the Heat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he went from a couple 10 days that a guy that just got injured, I forgot what's his name. It was something Jeremy, something on the Heat.
Well, the Heat have had a ton of
yeah, but he broke his wrist or something, and they gave Kyle Guy like the 2-way contract, which is great. Like, Stanley Johnson just did like
he got a full contract.
He's 25
now, right?
years old, and yeah, he played for the Raptors and he played for the Bulls in the preseason, and they gave him a 10-day, and it didn't work out. But like, he got an opportunity on the Lakers, and he's like, dude, he like changed our team around, just defense and energy. Like, that's what you need. So,
you know who I liked seeing?
Who?
Lance make him dance.
Oh yeah, like Lance Stevens.
What, he dropped like 30 on the Nets, and then next game he had like 14 assists or something like that.
Yeah, like I think it's great for him too. Like, I feel like a player like Michael Beasley could still.
Oh yeah. Well, if he can pass a drug test, who knows?
Well,
we'll see.
That's a.
I don't know if they don't test anymore for weed, right?
Yeah, but like he
could still ball, I'm sure, but he's probably making money in like Turkey or something.
Like a guy like Andre Blatch, I could see still making an NBA. Like DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins has been signing a bunch of 10 days.
Yeah, he's been playing for like
the last
3
few
different
years,
teams.
He signed for the
killed the Nets tonight. He absolutely killed us.
The Warriors. He played for the Bucks earlier this year. Now he's on the Nuggets. But like,
he can still play.
And he played for the Lakers even, but he like tore his ACL. He barely even got.
Man, he had a rough career path
from the Kings. Yeah.
If he got drafted to the right team, like we could be like.
But like, I'm just saying, some of these guys deserve to still get a second chance, and.
No, for sure.
I think it's.
You're right.
I think what it comes down to is, and you always tell me this, which I agree with to some extent. It's some of these teams rather throw a second rounder out there and give him minutes over like a veteran, because like players like even on. I don't want to keep using my team as the example, but like. Or even the Knicks or like the Lakers. Like the Lakers have Wayne Ellington. Would you rather play Austin Reeves, who's a rookie, undrafted rookie from, I forgot which college he went to, but he's getting more minutes than Wayne Ellington. But, you know, Wayne Ellington's that vet. Like, if some of these players on 10 days or G League, like I saw Marcus Thornton. You remember Marcus Thornton?
Yeah.
He's in the G League right now. Like, if he got an opportunity on a team, I'm sure he could still play. Yeah, absolutely. So like,
I think.
With the COVID and like the 10-day deals, like I think it's a great opportunity for them to get the experience to play in the NBA if it's like an unknown rookie, or like a veteran to get like a bigger contract overseas.
Well, I think teams are like, oh, let's see what's in the mystery box of like the younger player rather than, because these teams know they're not, like some teams know they're not really competing for a championship, so they'd rather like see or develop like a younger player where like. In a perfect world, every team is trying their hardest to win each game, and these veterans would have had deals already,
Right.
So when they come and it's like, oh, these guys can still play, it's like it could, if that mentality stuck, like just try each team trying their best to win as many games as possible, then you would probably have a better brand of basketball. There wouldn't be so many blowouts.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you brought that up because there's also the discussion to end it, They've been thinking about expanding the NBA to 32 teams. So hopefully a team in Seattle or Louisville or Kentucky, wherever they decide to build a team, maybe Vegas like the Raiders, and maybe move like the Grizzlies. I don't know.
My guess is Seattle gets the Sonics back.
And then maybe another team is created.
And then they got to create another team.
But like that would give an opportunity for some of these older guys and some of these undrafted. Yeah. Because there's a lot
there's a lot of talent floating around, and they're going overseas.
Yeah,
or they're going
G League is like getting overflowed, and we talk about there's so many spots on NBA team. I remember Jeremy Lin had an interview a couple of years ago. He talked about how people used to not believe in his talent, but there's 480 players in the NBA, 480 that make the team.
Right.
Outside of like these 2-ways and 10-day deals, and you have to be so talented to make the NBA. Right. Like, so talented.
Of course.
So, like, it would give an opportunity if we had an expansion for the teams like the Ignite or the South Bay Lakers, etc., the Long Island Nets, the Westchester Knicks. Like, I've watched these G League teams, and you see the talent. I've seen guys that I watched in college because I do watch some NCAA stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's a great opportunity for them, and the second chance. It's wonderful. I really like it.
One of the positives that's come of the whole COVID thing, which has just been like annoying and miserable for everyone. It is good to see some players that like Isaiah Thomas, of course, just like get another chance.
Or even like we brought up in the beginning of the topic, Joe Johnson.
That was cool.
It was cool because he went from the big three. I remember he made an appearance with the Detroit Pistons the year prior, but like just to see him like get a quick bucket and walk.
Yeah, just get the one more
10-day deal pass.
I remember during the pandemic. I know we're still in the pandemic, whatever, but
yeah.
The $1 million basketball tournament, whatever that thing is called, they were showing on ESPN when there was like no sports going on.
And Kiefer Sykes.
Was he in that too?
Yeah, that's how he got the deal with the Pacers. That's why it's another opportunity.
He's been playing well too. But Joe Johnson was, he's in that $1 million tournament. And I was like, oh, this is cool, we're seeing some real competition like while there's no other sports going on. And then to see him back in the NBA with his original team.
Yeah, after so many years.
And he set, I think that was a record. I know we discussed it, that, the longest time between your first basket with one team and your last basket with the same team. It was really cool. I'm always a big Joe Johnson fan, even I hate the Celtics, but
Joe Jesus.
I'm a big,
Joe Buckets.
Big Joe Johnson fan. Joe Cool, whatever. Yeah. I still got the T-shirt, the Brooklyn Nets T-shirt. I wear it all the time.
I have his jersey from Brooklyn Nets. I was a big fan of Joe Johnson when he was on the Hawks.
Shout out to Joe Johnson.
Yeah, shout out to Joe. But
always appreciated him.
Yeah, I really think the second chance contracts are great, and hopefully it continues and the NBA prospers, especially the teams. So.
All right. Anything else you want to discuss, talk about? I think we've been.
Well, since Irene picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl, and that did not go forward in my thinking.
How about this? I got the spreads right here for this weekend.
Okay.
Cincinnati Bengals are +7 against the Chiefs.
Hope the Bengals win.
What do you think, though, based on the spread? Let's do the spreads, because I think we both think the Chiefs are going to win. So you think Bengals cover the 7 or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn, I was going to say that, too.
I
think somehow they cover it, but...
I think they somehow covered, yeah.
All right, so we're in agreement on that. I think that's a smart pick, because I think who isn't going to be on the Chiefs? Like, how could you not be on the Chiefs after that, like, perform? Like, they looked almost unstoppable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the Bengals cover it somehow.
I think the Chiefs defensively aren't that good, and I think offensively they're very, very good. So, I mean, they have a good, like, core with their wide receivers. I don't know.
I'm just going to... I think, as they say, if the Chiefs win by more than 7, Vegas is going to take a bath, so I just don't see that happening. The Bengals are somehow going to cover that. They're somehow going to cover the 7. That's just what I think. So we're in agreement on that. What do you think? San Fran is they're plus 3.5 against the Rams. So Rams are favored by 3.5.
I think the Rams are going to win that game by 3.
Right.
No, I really think they're going to win it by 3, like a field goal, some bullshit. And our listeners, if you're Rams fans, that's great. I really think they're going to win it by 3. I think it's going to be like the end of the game. I think the Niners are actually one of the best defensive teams in the league, like located.
Right? No, they are.
I really, not just because I'm a fantasy football player. Like, I really. That's going to be a good game. I think that's going to be one of the best games also. I'm looking forward to watching that matchup.
I don't want to agree with you again, but I'm just thinking.
I think it's going to be a very close barn burner.
The Rams, I mean, the 49ers scored 13 points. I know it was in, like, the frozen tundra with snow and everything.
No, but I still think they're going to, like, hold the Rams in, like, the first quarter. The first half of that game is going to be a little slow, and then, like...
3.5. I hate the hook of the half point, but
I think they're going to win.
I'll take the Rams.
Yeah, I think the Rams are going to win by 3.
You want to put a nice... a beef gyro on the game?
Yeah, I'll buy you lunch because I'm sure.
Okay, fine.
So wait, what are my picks? I'm gonna go with the Rams and
the Bengals plus 7, right?
Yeah.
I like the Bengals kind of too. I just think. I gotta say 90% of the money is gonna be on the Chiefs. So I just think somehow the Bengals are gonna cover it.
I don't know.
I think Chiefs win, but Bengals cover the numbers somehow.
Yes.
And I kind of was leaning Niners, but I'll say Rams minus 3.5, even though I hate the hook. All right, so, well,
that's the end of our discussions today.
That's the pilot. I hope you guys liked it, and hopefully we'll get better. It's probably rough, but, you know.
Rough around the edges.
All right, let's wrap it up. Beats me.
Beats me.
See ya.